Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Always Online Multiplayer Gaming Podcast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things almost said free-to-play, multiplayer, still, a year later, multiplayer-related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, a.k.a. magicman. It is good to be back. We had last week off due to some traveling, going to RIT to see Torchwick, my son, and do all kinds of family stuff there. It was a blast, but now we are back and ready to talk about some multiplayer games and some news. And my new champ rank in Rocket League 2s. Finally, I hit champ for the first time. Go watch pre-show if you're not here live. We're, of course, doing the show live, twitch.tv/MMOBomb, 1 p.m. Eastern, every Friday. Well, most Fridays. Like 98% of Fridays. And if you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the other channels where this is distributed, thanks. While you're there, give us a like, a subscribe, thumbs up, comment. Your comments are an important part of the show, and I need them every single week. So go ahead and throw them down there, and come on over to MMOBomb. Joining me today to talk about all kinds of fun stuff, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
First, I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Earth.
Happy birthday, Earth.
According to Good Omens, today was the day God created Earth.
All right. Okay.
So we'll just run with it. The Earth is a Libra. There we go.
How old is the Earth? Do we know? Without opening up a religious debate.
It can't be a religious debate. It's
2022 years old.
No, a little over 6,000 because it was October 21st, 4004 BCE. At exactly 9 a.m.
Oh, wow. I mean, they seem to have this down to a
they got it down.
Science.
they got it down to a Terry Pratchett wrote this science.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the existence of lead automatically disproves that, the way lead is actually evolved. Not evolved.
Okay,
what was it?
You're thinking way too hard about something that's a joke in a book.
It's like Half-Life. So. Also on the line, not quite as old as the Earth, but getting close.
Whoa.
Don't worry, we're all old. We'll find that out in the comments when we get down there to the weekly bombs. Troy Blackburn, the Noob Bridge himself, and Takal wants to know in chat, have you been insufferable because Tennessee's good for the first time in decades?
No, I haven't been insufferable. I have some Alabama fan friends who get to hear about it, but other than that, no. It just feels good. You know, if you're actually a fan for a team through the good and the bad, you get to celebrate the good because you were still a fan through the bad. So,
oh, you're one of those like get mad at fair weather or bandwagon fans?
Yeah, there's some in my family who are Alabama fans who my wife's dad used to take her to Tennessee games. And then Alabama got good, so he became an Alabama fan. So he was pretty sick whenever Tennessee beat Alabama.
Well, we got a lot to cover. We did put up some first looks before we start the news, so check them out, YouTube or on MMOBomb.com. I put up a first look for Marvel Snap. We're not going to spend a ton of time talking about that one today, but we'll mention it a little bit, I'm sure. If you're looking for something fast and free in the card game space, it might meet your needs. It lacks the depth and some of the PC version polish, which it's in early access. The UI for the PC is coming, I swear. It looks like a freaking mobile phone on your PC. There's like 2/3 of the screen that's just wasted space. Anyway, it's all right. Go watch the first look video. I think some will like it more than others. It kind of lacks depth for me, but obviously serves the audience it's probably going for with these quick, snappy matches. We also put up the Overwatch 2 first look, which we suckered Jason Winter into coming back and doing, being the over 1,000 hours of Overwatch fan that he is. We're not going to talk about Overwatch 2 today or the first look for it, because Jason's actually going to join us next week. So we'll kind of dive into impressions of Overwatch 2 now that it's like a month out of the disastrous launch that it had. So we'll talk about those next week. Let's get started with the news we have for this week. All right, let's talk about some things coming. We've got a bunch of new stuff on the horizon. Let's start off with Nexon, who right now is holding, I think it's going on right now, the first Descendant beta. It's a 4-player co-op looter-shooter type game. Now, I I don't want to be critical of the beta, but they are having issues. Let's just gently say they are having issues. Dear God, don't try to fast travel. Yeah, if you fast travel, most of the time you're going to end up in a whole new boot session because the game may just crash. So it's got some oddball stuff going on. I don't want to spend time on the tech stuff, though. I want to talk about the game itself, what your impressions are of the trailer, the looter shooter aspect itself. Could it be? I mean, it does have kind of like that Destiny 2, that almost Anthem vibe a little bit. In fact, some of the UI elements, when I first saw them, I was like, that really looks like Anthem. And I don't know if that's something you want to even remotely be emulating. But we got a new trailer. The beta event ends in like 5 days. It's a 4-player co-op game. So think things like Aliens Fireteam Elite. I think that's only 3 players, but you get the point of what you're going in for. I got to admit, when I first saw the trailer, I was a little interested, Troy. A little bit interested. I like a good looter shooter that has solid gameplay loops and, monetization I'm okay with. And we don't know the monetization front of this one yet, exactly how that's going to be handled. But I do like me a good looter shooter, a good co-op game. You'll be able to unlock up to 10 different heroes with unique abilities in the beta. There's going to be more at launch. Loadout's a huge part of this. Grappling hooks, traversing the environment, missions, big world bosses. Like, it's checking all the boxes. But it is also Nexon, let's be honest.
Yeah, I think that's maybe the biggest drawback for me is that it's Nexon, so that makes me way hesitant. Is it this trailer you saw that made you excited for the game? Because
this is the story trailer that I'm showing as the B-roll. This really isn't gameplay trailer. There's like a voiceover, and this is a cinematic story setup. Yeah.
The one that we're showing is boring and does nothing to promote the game whatsoever. It doesn't make me interested in the game at all, that particular trailer there. So the game itself, I want to check it out. I want to try to find time to check it out this weekend. I got a lot going on. I'm working on a dual universe first look, and I got Brimstone Sands going on in New World. So I don't know whether or not I'm going to have time to go in and check this out. I'm willing to check it out during sort of the beta event. But I don't know long term, as much as a looter shooter sounds like, could be something interesting. I don't know that this is going to be the one coming from Nexon, and given the problems it's already having and the fact that I just haven't seen anything yet that really, really draws me to this one.
Q, it's got like the typical kind of, run of the mill setup, right? You've got it is third person, so it'd be a little more bearable for you than first person. But you're a Descendant. That's a special class hero that you can think hero shooter, and you can go pick and fight against invaders to make sure humans survive and protect the continent. And they do say that there is a story element to this, that there is a whole narrative growing stronger through those missions and the narrative to finally discover the Descendant secret. So it doesn't really sound all that special narratively, but maybe there's at least some entertainment to be had there, and Unreal 5. So there are some good checkboxes.
I mean, I know Justin's been playing it this weekend. I haven't asked him what he thought of it because I've just seen it, on his Discord thing saying that he's in it. But it's so far beyond the list of things that I have on my, this is the stuff I want to do, that by the time I get around to it, the game will probably be dead anyway.
Well, that's a ringing endorsement.
So I don't know. It is, basically all the same tropes. Your world is invaded. You get special powers for reasons.
Chirac saying, "Don't know if UE5 is a good thing." I can see the point. I'll concede that one. I'm talking more like, hey, it's UE5, so visually, performance-wise, I don't know. Like we're still
It can be pretty, but
experimenting.
laggy.
It has the
It'll be
potential to be very pretty, is what I meant by UE5 being a good thing.
He was trying to appeal to my liking pretty games
I
thing.
know.
That's what he was trying to do there. But I mean, yeah, narratively and everything else, it feels like the other where it's like, okay, yeah, world's been invaded. All that's left now is you guys with your special powers that came from somewhere, either random deity or your ancestors forever ago that you forgot their powers they had or whatever. Like it's so common
Oh yeah.
for these kinds of games. And it's just it's one of those things that I probably will never even look at beyond writing stuff for it.
Okay, fine. Well, give me another shot. Give me another shot here.
Okay.
Let me introduce you to another 4-player co-op shooter action game.
Okay, no. No, I read that too. No.
And see if we can't appeal to you here. This is Warhammer 40K Darktide. Troy and I have both been looking forward to Darktide. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There was a 3-day closed beta test on Steam, Windows PC, and GeForce Now over this past weekend. And there was limited classes that you could pick from and things like that. It is a closed couple of days beta test, so it wasn't like this huge thing. But did you get a chance to jump into this one, Troy?
I did.
Yeah, I did too. I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
I had a lot of fun playing it. It ran fairly well for me. I did have some issues here and there, but I like the class. I like being able to customize my own character a lot. And I actually like the hub, the multiplayer hub, where you kind of start your missions from. It was bigger than the Vermintide hubs usually are, and it was more to walk around and do, and be able to go into the missions. I had a lot of fun playing it. The missions were varied. There were different types of enemies and stuff to kill, and I was a big ogre guy, so I had a lot of fun playing that. Just running over enemies was just my jam, and every time I got an opportunity to just run over enemies, that's what I would do because it's hella fun.
It was a blast. Now, there were limitations on what we could access, and there were some tech issues here and there. I would say not nearly as bad as First Descendant's tech issues right now in their beta, but there were some tech issues on this one. And Anthony did a full game design spotlight piece earlier this week in his weekly column, focusing specifically on the hybrid combat in the game that really, and I think Anthony did peg this, it basically does force you to adapt. It's fun to just walk around and smack things to just bloody pulps in the Warhammer universe, but it's also, ammo is kind of scarce, Troy. I don't know if you noticed that. Like, you actually, this is a looter shooter where it's just not, you're going to have to think about the best way to attack things. And looter shooter is bad terming. This is more an action game, but you actually had to adjust and go, all right, maybe we should just smack things with a hammer for a little bit here. We're running low on ammo.
Yeah, and I was worried about that a little bit too when the game was first being announced and stuff, because there was the melee and the shooting, and it wasn't like a class thing where some of you are melee and some of you are shooters. And I was like, well, what's the point of having both? Like, am I just going to be randomly deciding, oh, I just want to smack things for a little bit, and now I want to shoot things? But yeah, like you said, like it's pretty situational, and you have to pay attention. And there are definitely opportunities where it's better to melee and save your ammo, and then there are other chances where you're going to have to use your gun and shoot, and you better have the ammo available to do so.
Yeah, Anthony Q said in his piece, I firmly believe the hybrid combat supersedes that misconception Vermintide players may have. Swapping between melee, ranged, and items and abilities felt great with the Vermintide model of multiplayer missions, and is a fulfilling cycle packed with horde-infested combat situations that brutally force players to adapt where necessary for better or worse. I had a blast with this one.
I did watch the video where they were talking about the upcoming beta and stuff like that, and that's one of the things that they kind of addressed was the two combining the two styles of gameplay. And they were like, well, if you came from Vermintide, you're going to have to shift your perception about it a little bit and understand that, you're going to need to, and if you're coming from an actual,
Oh, Q left.
No.
Q has been taken by the orcs.
it was so weird.
They were like, "You're not a fan of our game? Not gonna play it?
Bye.
Here
That
come
was
the orcs."
so weird because Discord just rebooted. Like it was just like.
All
I
right,
don't know
you
what
were
that
saying
was.
you were saying the mix of the two play styles.
Yeah, and that you're gonna have to figure out how to use them together to get the best results and everything. And that does sound to me, kind of cool. In a lot of things, I'm much more a melee kind of player. Like I tell people when they try to convince me that being a caster in games is a good idea, it's like, no, I'm the person who just wants to walk up and smack things in the face.
Yep.
Like,
You can do it.
you
can absolutely do it.
So I think that sounds really nice. I also did enjoy, like you were talking about, their the little bit of issues they had, and he was very clear that this is a test.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be some issues. And like, all of these things we shouldn't have to remind you about because it is
Right.
labeled a beta test, but just in case, because it did sound interesting. It's just not my particular jam, and particularly since it is first person.
Yeah, this one not third person like first Descendant is. One thing I will say though, Troy, I'm kind of glad it got delayed. Like, remember, this was supposed to be on store shelves shortly here. And this got backed up a little bit. It's looking good in beta. That makes me even, more hyped for it a little bit on exactly what it's going to be at launch, that they did. This was what they had, and they're giving themselves a little more time on top of that.
Yeah, for a beta, I thought it was in a good spot to be a
Yeah.
beta. And like you said, now they've got the extra time to finish polishing all that stuff out. So hopefully it turns out to be good to go on day one.
I think, by the way, the gameplay is going to appeal. Like, obviously, the Warhammer IP draws a certain audience, right? Like, you slap Warhammer 40, although, to be fair, Games Workshop, like, freely licenses 40K out. Like, it's nobody's freaking business anymore. But it does still have that appeal. I don't think you necessarily have to be a Warhammer diehard or even a Warhammer fan to enjoy what's going on here.
Yeah, I'm a Warhammer fan, but not a Warhammer diehard. And the game itself appealed to me just on its own merits. And I've actually been diving more and more into the lore since I pre-ordered the game. I know don't pre-order games, but
I did not pre-order it. I'm holding fast.
I knew I was going to buy this, so I've already pre-ordered it. But I've been diving into the lore, more and more of the 40K lore since then. So it's actually brought me more into the lore. Like, I was vaguely familiar with the sort of the overarching story
Right.
of Warhammer 40K, but I've been like into the particulars of, different events and different people. So it's been fun being able to dive into that lore.
Are you a mini painter?
I am not Warhammer, but I paint minis in a lot of my board games and stuff.
Q, do you paint minis? Like, you're super, like, artsy and creative type person, but like I don't know if you do tabletop gaming or maybe you just paint them for fun because it looked cool type deal.
I mean, I used to paint models and stuff forever ago, but I've never done like minis. For one thing, they're hella expensive.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit.
And with all the moving and stuff I generally do, could you imagine me painting a whole bunch of minis and then like losing a box of them somewhere?
Q's moving
Like,
again. We're not going to see her for 6 months.
That would be the most tragic thing. I painted all these minis and now they're just gone. Somebody set them on fire or something. I don't know. Something always gets broken or lost when I move. So
speaking of set on fire, there's no way that you like that segue, Troy.
That's good.
There's no way that the first of 2 pre-expansion updates for World of Warcraft Dragonflight isn't just an absolute dumpster fire next week, right? Like, there's just no way. So we're getting that first pre-expansion patch or update. There's going to be 2. The first one is on October 25th, so next week. That's going to bring back the kind of old school talent system where you spend your points in there. It's going to open up some of those restrictions on classes and race, so you'll be able to create. I forget which ones are opening off the top of my head. Do either of you know? I'm trying to scan Anthony's piece here real quick because I forget.
The one that they're now allowing all races.
Mages,
to play
rogues, and
Yeah.
priests. Yeah, those can now be all playable races. And then there's some other smaller stuff there, some bonuses, set bonuses, fixes, and things like that. I can't help this like sinking feeling that although there are some things interesting to me in Dragonflight and this kind of advertised return to a few more player centric things. I'm still not entirely sold on the whole renown thing, the way they're changing it. But I just feel like, man, that this is probably one that should come out next year, like a March, April, May-ish. And then I got this feeling, I could be wrong, and I hope I am for Warcraft fans, that this is going to be an absolute dumpster fire. Because I feel like this one's being rushed a bit.
So do we actually know how long they've been working like this particular thing? Because what may feel rushed to us may be something that's been in the works for an incredibly long time, and they just never bothered to tell us.
Well, I mean, that's always going to be the case, but within a realistic timeline, like there was so much wrong in Shadowlands. There was so much wrong with Shadowlands that to revert a lot back or make some things more player-centric is going to take more time than just standard development time. Because it's not just creating new content, right? It's creating new content, which is typically what the expansion does, but then also having to revamp large swatches of things that players just hated about Shadowlands. And I was fine with the raids and then stuff like that, but like the renown system was annoying, and there were all the story wasn't all that great. The whole setting didn't really do it for me, and for a lot of World of Warcraft fans, like there's a lot that they have to fix, and I think the overwhelming portion of the audience is probably looking for Dragonflight to fix a lot of that stuff. And I don't think they can in just the sale of the expansion. I think it takes a longer stream of time than just one expansion is going to fix it.
Yeah,
and if you rush that expansion, I think things get worse.
Yeah, I don't think this expansion is going to like fix everything that World of Warcraft players think are wrong with the game. I think we've heard this song and dance too many times out of Blizzard, to be honest with you. Oh, we're listening, we're doing this, we're doing that you want, and then they never do. At this point in time, who has faith in Blizzard to do anything right? I said this time and time again, they can't even accidentally do anything right at this point. Why would we have faith that they're gonna get it right this time? I do not give them the benefit of the doubt. I do not think that they're going to have an opportunity to fix everything in one expansion. And I don't think that players are going to be happy in the long run. I think they'll be excited when the new expansion comes out because, players always are when the new stuff comes out. But I think in the long run, this is going to be looked back at as a pretty forgettable expansion.
I just think they're probably even going to have problems next week with just the damn pre-patch. And it's just part one of the pre-patch. Like, I'm not one of those ones that expects Dragonflight to fix everything that I thought personally was wrong with WoW. I'm more realistic than that. As long as I'm seeing progress, it's like when Final Fantasy XIV does something I don't like, but then I see it evolve into something. Like, I don't like PvP in 14. I hated PvP in 14. I still don't play it, but I can see it evolving into something a little more player-centric, a little more enjoyable, a little more fitting with the theme and the aspects and the controls of Final Fantasy XIV. So I can appreciate that long-term development plan, even if it's not content I actively choose to participate in. I'm not looking for Dragonflight to do that, but watching the launch of Overwatch 2, watching the kind of mess that was Wrath Classic and its launch and its queues and its dungeon matchmaking, that whole fiasco, like, I don't know. I don't know. There's no way this isn't a dumpster fire next week. We'll see for sure.
And I hear nothing but negative stuff about the event, the pre-patch event. Once that goes live, I've heard nothing but negative stuff about that, and it's lackluster and just not entertaining at all.
Quickly before we move on to our next topic here, Troy, there's not a whole segment here, but as our resident New World returner, you've played Brimstone Sands on the PTR. You've been playing it now that it's live, messing with the Greatsword, checking out the new region. They just did some server work to help mitigate queues because they are enjoying that, big patch or expansion influx of players. Whether they hold on to it or not, we'll see over the longer term. Brimstone Sands seems to be generally positively received, though. So what do you think?
It's definitely positively received by me. I think it feels like an MMO expansion. I think it feels like a good Sandpark MMO expansion. There is questing that takes you through the zone. There's one main story quest and then like a few little side quests along the way. It's not like just tons of quests like ESO, but that's not the game New World is. It's more of a sand park than a theme park. But there is a quest that leads you through the zone, tells you story about the zone, leads you into different areas, teaches you how to do some of the new stuff, and also some of the rewards along the way give you the new weapons or newer weapons if you haven't got your weapons leveled up very far, including the Greatsword. I got a Greatsword like the third section of the main story quest in. So I didn't even have to go like buy or craft a Greatsword. I've got one to play with now, and the Greatsword is a heck of a lot of fun. It still feels good. It feels just as smooth and interesting to use as it did on the PTR. So overall, I think it's a lot of hard work went into this one, and it's obvious that they put a lot of hard work into this one. And it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There's still some little bugs and stuff here and there. But it's a step in the right direction for the company as a whole because they've actually produced something quality that feels like the game that they want the game to be.
It does. I do have to say, in everything that I've seen and watched, it does kind of feel like they're finding their stride, right? In what to the way you worded it, the way they want the game to be. But I think more importantly, there was an interview done with, what's his name? Tom? Who's the lead? What is his name? I don't remember his name.
I don't know.
Anyway, there was an interview done looking back at the previous year and putting a lot of emphasis on, we kind of thought this was a particular game, but the players are now determining, once you launch an MMO, the players determine what type of game it's going to be. And it seems to be that they're taking some of that feedback to heart and seeing it in actual development. We're not just getting the lip service cue. We're actually seeing that in some of the progress and the development going forward.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is one of those. So it's a weird balance, right? Like you need to make the game you want to make, but at the same time, take the players into account. There's just not going too far that direction, and then the game becomes completely uncontrollable by the devs. Like because players don't always want the same thing, or they don't always know entirely what they want. So it's
Scott
like
Lane.
It's like there you go.
Game director Scott Lane. Yeah, there it is. Found it. All right, cool. Keep us posted, Troy. Let us know. We're going to watch the player base. Like, I don't want to say they're rebuilding because they've always had 18 to 35,000 people playing, and most games would give their left arm for those numbers. So it's not like a Final Fantasy 14 version 1 thing where they've got to, rebuild from the ground up. But it is nice seeing generally positive feedback on the content, a nice influx of players. We'll see if they stick around, if the content is deep enough, because that's been kind of like the overarching gripe about New World for the people that do enjoy it, right? It's like, all right, I'm there. So I guess it's PvP or bust at this point. Like, what else do I do?
Yeah, because the sandbox, like you said, the sandbox is there, but it's not extraordinarily deep by any stretch of the imagination. I think they could do more with that, but yeah, it's definitely a PvP centric game at the end of the game, but there are some PvE things to do.
I, on the other hand, have played a little bit of Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed by Ilphonic, and I was talking before the show. I sent them an email to see if they were doing press keys, so we could consider it for a first look video and stuff. And they didn't answer me after like a day or two, and so I hit them up on Twitter, and they just confirmed, did you use the right email? This is the press email. Yeah. And they said, go ahead and reply to them again, make sure that they got it. So I did. They still hadn't replied, so I went ahead and bought the game yesterday. Played it a little bit last night, played it a little bit before the show today. It will be one of the games that I put up for our stream after the show as voting if you want me to stream that. We'll put 3 games in there and chat can pick. 4v1, we've talked about it before. Troy, you and I personally love these types of games. It is awesome to see Ernie Hudson and Dan Aykroyd reprise their roles as Winston and Ray, respectively. There is a story to it. Like, you have to play different matches to unlock the story and the bits and things like that. But man, does it feel fun to throw that proton pack on. Like, they nailed this. If you don't like asymmetric gameplay, this ain't for you. Like, the story is not compelling enough to say, hey, just because you're a Ghostbusters fan and you want to see the story, go play a game that is in a style you just don't like. That's not for you. You really do have to like this asymmetric 4v1. You're going to have to play as the Ghostbusters for a little bit, a few different haunts, before you even get the option to be a ghost on the one side of 4v. You don't have to play with friends, though. It is one of those games, kind of like Aliens Fireteam Elite, that if you don't have enough, it'll bot everybody else. The rest of the Ghostbusters, the ghost itself, like whatever you don't have in your group, you can make it friends only and go yourself, and you'll have 3 ghost-busting bots with you and a bot ghost if you're going to be the 4th Ghostbuster. It is funny. It is charming. There are loads of nods to Ghostbusters fans in there. The iconic music kicks it off. Like, I could not help, Troy, but sit there and play this with this big shit-eating grin on my face. Just like, I couldn't take it off. I was like, you know what? Even if this ends up being terrible, I love it. I love it. So I'm having a very positive time with it so far. I'm still very early in it. I think I'm like level 5 or 6. And I have not opened up the ability to be a ghost yet. I only got to spend like an hour or so in it. But man, everything about it is just feeling right so far. So far.
And I assume the proton packs sound right as well.
Yes. Everything sounds and looks. The firehouse is amazing. Yes, you can slide down the fire pole. I mean, of course you can, right? Like, yes, the proton packs sound amazing. The meters sound awesome. Getting slimed looks great. That's like your downed status. And you're slimed and on the ground, and your camera is just covered in green or pink or whatever slime. There's like side gigs, which are there's a weekly and a daily like quest thing in there, but there's also like side gigs that you can pick up to unlock different cosmetic items to change your outfit, or emotes and gain experience to level up and then unlock like the next act of the story. I'm having a blast with it so far. Again, very early, so it's just early positive impressions. Not ready to do a full first look on it yet, but it's kind of got me. You picking it up, Troy?
Yeah. Once I get some time on my plate here, definitely picking this one up.
Come on, Q. Can I get you to be a Ghostbuster with me? It's first person though, so.
Yeah, that would be the bigger problem. I mean, I love the Ghostbusters. It is still one of my all-time favorite IPs. I really wanted to play as the ghost, so it kind of sucks that you have to wait a little bit. But I do like the idea that I can just go in with an AI team and pull through and do it that way to get to the ghost.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how long yet. I'll let you know when I unlock it. Like I said, I'm probably level I think 5 or 6. I've played 2 or 3 haunts, so very early. and I haven't unlocked the ghost yet, but they do mention that like right off the top, like we're gonna make you be a Ghostbuster for a couple of haunts, but I don't know exactly how many, if it's level restricted or which I assume it is. I'll let you know. Because yeah, if it's like one of those 5-10 hour deals, then I could see people being a little miffed. I don't think it's gonna be that though. I think Ilphonic is a little smarter than that when it comes to these types of games. But there you go. Kind of a mini review. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Thumbs up right now. What I do want to spend a little bit of time on, though, is events. Obviously, it being Halloween, we are seeing event after event after event. Some new, some returning to all of our favorite MMORPGs and our multiplayer games. That's just going to continue as we roll through Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, and those event posts, they start piling up. What I want to ask, though, is does anybody care? Like, obviously, we all probably have our favorite event of the year in a particular game. For me, like, I'll give you an example. I love Guild Wars 2's Halloween event, but only because of the Nightmare Tower, right? Like, I don't care about any of the other stuff. I like the Nightmare Tower jumping puzzle. Congratulations to Jason Winter, who on his stream this week finally beat it. So now I can't hold that over his head anymore as a Guild Wars 2 achievement I have that he doesn't. He has completed it. But like, do you care about events, Q? Like when you see the Dark Moon Fair kick around in World of Warcraft, or All Saints Wake come rolling around in Final Fantasy 14. Like, do you care? Particularly because most of them are very similar, if not exactly the same things every single year anyway. Like, would you miss them? Would a developer be doing a disservice to its players by not doing them? What do you think?
So I think there's differences in the events, right? Like and some games, yes, they're exactly the same every year. Maybe a few extra things tacked on or something like that. Some are just, go do these same quests over and over again, collect your things or whatever, Rift, right? Go collect your things and then turn them in for things or whatever. I actually do like XIVs because for the most part, they're very simple. You go and you get your cookie or whatever. They do change them slightly every year. Like this year's All Saints event is not. It features the same characters, but it's not the same event. Like there's differences story-wise and everything. So with XIVs, there's always a little bit of a different story for every one of their events, right?
Yeah.
But so many of them are they're just rote. They're exactly the same thing. Maybe they add some additional stuff to do, but they're exactly the same. So by the time the event has gone on 2 or 3 times, there's nothing new for you to get. There's no new story content. It's literally just, well, if you happen to miss this the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years, now you can pick up your stuff, which is fine for new players, but does nothing for the people who have been there before, really. But yeah, like the All Saints event, I enjoyed it. It was short. Yeah, I went and did the thing when, saw the new little area they made and got my cookie and then went on about my day going and getting ready to do variant dungeons. Like so it was, it's not bad. What I hate about events is having to write about them. Because the amount of times I have written it's spooky season again. Like there's only so many things you can say about a new event coming up. And then with some of them, they get, they'll give you like this incredibly detailed list of this is all the stuff that's happening in our events. And then other ones, it'll be like, it's going to be here and these are the items you're getting. And that's all we're going to tell you about the events. So writing them is the worst part of any event for me. Like that, them actually existing, they're a fun little diversion. You get shit out of them. It's cool.
Cal says if they recycle the same event, just recycle the article.
That's fair.
Totally fair. What about you, Troy? Like, would you be disappointed if your favorite MMORPG or the new big sexy came out and you had enjoyed it, you liked playing it, and they just said, you know what, we're not going to do those like event stuff. We're going to focus development on more meaningful content. If you want a Halloween jump puzzle, go play Guild Wars that day and then come on back because we'll have our next update. Like, do they have to be there? I've seen chat mentioning it's one of those check boxes for an MMO. Do you have PvE? Do you have PvP? Do you have world bosses? Do you have a talent system? Blah, 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 blah. Events. Is it like that for you?
It is like that for me. I enjoy the events in MMOs, especially. I would be very disappointed if they didn't have them. Like New World just introduced their Halloween event, and I'm super excited to go check that out. It looks really cool. Haven't had a chance to play it, to do any part of that yet. Been exploring the Brimstone Sands, but I've got to get back into the world and check out the Halloween event. And usually it's pretty cool rewards, some pretty neat little things to pick up here and there that I enjoy having. It's just fun to have and fun to get. And it can be a little repetitive sometimes if it's the same event year after year with no changes to the rewards and no changes to the event itself. But overall, I think it's something that MMOs should have. I think it's one of those check boxes. And for me, especially, it's one of those check boxes that events is something that they should have. Seasonal events, special events, in-game events that are, holidays for the lore of your game. All of that stuff is fantastic, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like right in between both of you. I don't care if they're there. I also don't care if they weren't. Even in like Final Fantasy 14, like an MMO I play all the time. If the events weren't there, I'd be like, okay. I think it's a bit different, by the way, if you're talking about a game that's always done events and decides not to from now on. That is not what we're talking about here. I would not expect Final Fantasy to just stop doing them right now and everybody be okay with that. They wouldn't, because you've had this history of doing these events. I'm more talking about if you launched one today, would you be disappointed if that game didn't come with events? But I also saw chat talking about this, and they have become a bit more of a monetization tool, right? Back in the day, they were just, hey, it's Halloween. Let's do some cool stuff, and here you go. Here's a couple rewards for doing it. And while many games still do that, they have kind of jumped on the monetizing those events, which I am not a fan of. I'm looking at you, Rocket League. I was very excited, actually, about, for somebody that's like, oh, I don't care if they're there or not. I was really excited about Rocket League's Halloween event when I saw, like, they were giving, there were all kinds of, like, horror movie-themed items. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Child's Play, Saw, like, all kinds of horror movies. Love it. I was like, sweet. I get in there, I start doing the event, and the rewards are like tires and decals and stuff. They were kind of cool, yeah, all right. But the anthem musics that play when you score a goal, or the goal explosions, all cash shop. Like, they had a Billy puppet goal explosion from Saw. They had the Halloween music. They had Chucky's Laugh as player anthem music. They had Hello Zep, the music from Saw. They had like 6 or 7 different ones. They were all cash shop items, every single one of them. And I was like, God, that sucks, man. I did buy them all, but that that sucks. I had the credits on my account. It's not like I gave them more cash. I have those stupid leftover credits from farming the season pass.
It's not like I gave them more cash. I just had already given them cash.
Right. It was because of that stupid manipulation tactic they all do, right?
Yeah.
You need X credits to buy the season pass.
But
you
can
can't
only
buy X
500
credits.
more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I had all that leftover stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know. Let us know in the comments below. If you don't like the question of the week, you could talk to us about events. Finally, last piece of news here before we head on over to the bombs. Let's talk a little bit about how the industry can be really dumb sometimes. Sony is rumored to be canceling or delaying their Sony PlayStation showcase. A lot of people looking forward to this. Normally happens around this time of the year. Was rumored to be announced like October 9th and possibly shown off on October 20th. But rumors, according to Millie A., who does have a kind of a track record with this type of stuff, by the way, are that they are canceling or delaying that show. Why? Because they're afraid that that show might actually bolster Microsoft's case in legislative bodies around the world that continue to debate the purchase of Activision. By going forward and showing a strong slate of exclusive games coming to the PlayStation, they might actually make Microsoft's argument of, you don't need us, even though we're still going to have Call of Duty on your damn system for at least the next 3 years anyway. They might actually bolster the case. So they don't want to show off exclusive titles that people might react well to, because legislative bodies might say, then why are you making such a big deal about Call of Duty? While on the surface, this might seem like it makes a bit of sense, Troy, I think when you dive into it a little more, you're kind of like, isn't this cutting off your nose to spite your own face?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what they're worried about, of course, is Microsoft taking Activision Blizzard and going exclusive with it, right? And some of the other things they've been buying up and going exclusive with that.
Oh, the
And
best
so-
argument that they made recently, I apologize for interrupting you. The best argument that they made recently was, even if they don't take it away from us, they may put other things in there that make it more enticing to buy it on the Xbox. To which I tweeted out, oh, you mean like you've done with Marvel's Avengers and 700 other titles that I can think of in the last 10 years where there were specific bonuses for buying it on the PlayStation?
And that's what I was about to say is
protection.
they're worried about all these exclusives. So what they're going to do is not show their exclusives. They're like the Horizon Zero Dawn remake, Silent Hills, all these things that are going to be exclusive to PlayStation. Well, let's not talk about those right now. Let's make sure that we're convenient to the argument that we want to make at the moment. And so they're avoiding talking about their own exclusives and all the strong titles they have coming to their console because they're too worried about what's happening on the Microsoft side of things. It's like you said, it's the dumbest thing that I have seen in a while, and they've been doing some dumb things.
Yeah.
But this is maybe the dumbest.
We did get to see Silent Hill, though. The 2 remake and some other titles coming from the Silent Hill transmission. Awesome that Bloober Team's working on it. That's the team behind, I believe, The Medium, if I remember correctly. I have confidence in them. I don't know if Silent Hill 2, some of the spookier aspects, the better aspects of it, can hold up in an HD world. We'll see. Like, some of those things were spooky because we were in a PlayStation 1 world. We'll see. But yeah, Q, this just kind of seems like you're doing what?
Well, it's so, like you said, part of it is they are projecting, because what they're thinking Microsoft is going to do is what they do. It's what they all do. So there's that portion, but there's also, like, even if they don't hold their thing, sooner or later they're gonna have to show players these games. Like, they're gonna have to, because they want players to buy the games. They can't sit on them forever waiting for this Microsoft purchase to be decided. They're going to have to show people the games, at which point that's out there anyway. The reaction, the proof that, hey, maybe Call of Duty isn't necessary for the survival of the PlayStation is there. So they're just delaying the inevitable, and it's really silly, because I mean, at this point all they're doing is pissing off fans.
Shirak in chat asking, didn't Microsoft say they won't add it to the Game Pass? No, Call of Duty can't be added to the Game Pass right now because of an existing contract between Activision and Sony for the licensing and distribution and publishing and all the the typical, hey, we want to release a game on your platform contracts. That contract apparently states that it can't be on any other digital subscription service for a number of years. So it actually can't be on Game Pass yet. That will change, right? Contracts expire, but right now it's not that they don't want to add it, it's that they can't add it. In other industry news, for sometimes the industry is just dumb, Blizzard Albany, congratulations, their QA workers do get the ability to vote on a union. The 21 QA workers at Blizzard Albany received that ruling from the National Labor Relations Board. They will now be able to move forward and vote to create the second union inside of the Activision Blizzard empire. The awesome argument that Blizzard tried to make against this one, besides normal union-busting activities that they have been engaged in, is quite funny to me. They said that, hey, you know what? They should not be able to vote because they're working on different games. They shouldn't be able to form together collectively and vote because individually they are working on different games. National Labor Relations Board was having none of that argument. And they said that, hey, you know, working on multiple games has minimal to no impact on the community of interest among associate test analysts. So, oh, and by the way, they're getting sued again. Another sexual harassment filing against Activision Blizzard. It won't be the last one. It won't be the last one. Yeah, so yet another one. Lisa Bloom tweeting out about it. Of course, there's some anonymity going on. It does go into Miguel Vega and that whole thing again, who's had multiple accusations and isn't even there anymore, but still alleging that Activision and Blizzard knew stuff and did nothing. So it just continues. It just continues. Last but not least, Troy, are you sad about this one? Fault Elder Orb is closing down. If you don't remember, this is the MOBA that was picking up with all the Paragon MOBA assets. When Paragon shut down and Epic just dumped those assets on the internet for you to do whatever the hell you wanted with them, this team has been working for a long time. We've been covering them. We've played it on stream before, very early when it was really rocky. It's nowhere near as rocky now, but it will be shutting down their servers on November 1st. So Fault Elder Orb joins its daddy, mommy, whatever, Paragon in the graveyard. You actually liked Paragon quite a bit, Troy.
Yeah, I liked Paragon. At one point you had me jump into this one, Fault Elder Orb, to see if it was worth doing a first look on, and there were not enough players, and it was such a technical mess that it just wasn't worth trying to do a video on. It just obviously wasn't ready for prime time, even though they were trying to release it and get some players into it. So I'm not surprised at all that this one's going the way of the dodo. If the father, mommy, daddy didn't make it, I didn't see how this one was going to make it, and it didn't. So unfortunately, another game gone.
Sad to see. Sad to see. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
I'm going to give a bomb to the new variant in Criterion Dungeons in XIV. Those things are freaking awesome.
They are kind of cool, man. They are kind of cool. I haven't gotten as much hands-on time this week. It's been busy, but I think I've gone through two of the primary paths in the variant dungeon, and then went off and explored other stuff too. Go ahead.
I've got 7 of the 12 so far of the paths.
The variant paths, yeah. The
variant paths, right? Because there's the 3 main paths,
right?
And then there's basically 4 inside each of those.
Right.
And I've got 7 out of the full 12, which you have to get all 12 if you want that mount.
Yep.
The giant gerbil mount. So we've been working on that. But it's so cool because I go in there as a dancer, and it's a 1 to 4 player thing for the variants. And I go in there as a dancer with a healer, and I just tank the entire thing as a dancer.
They are a lot of fun. They are a lot of fun.
So
we're going to talk about those an awful lot next week. Yeah. I'll stick with Square. I'm going to give a dub bomb to the Final Fantasy 16 new trailer that was put up yesterday. I don't care if it's multiplayer or not. I loved it. I loved it. Great trailer. I liked it. Doesn't mean I'm going to like the game. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the whole Devil May Cry combat style. Like, we'll talk when that comes out. Just giving it to the trailer. Love the trailer. Go ahead, Troy.
Dub bomb to Brimstone Sands and New World. It's been a great positive experience. A lot of hard work being shown for the game, and a lot of love being shown for the game, and a lot of players coming back to check it out. Overall, very positive.
3 DeBombs. Way to go. Let's see if the viewers hold up. Trenchard says, DeBomb to Anthony and his cat. They deservedly earned that top right host corner last week or last show.
Was it Anthony that earned it or the cat?
It was the cat. It was the cat. Stojan in chat saying DeBomb to Overwatch because now it is free. Go ahead, Q. Take the next one.
The Pie Maker. Cool name. A-Bomb to Overwatch 2 launch. Overwatch 1 was my comfort game, so I'm completely devastated now that it's gone and have been replaced with endless queues, disconnects, and lags. Da-Bomb to having both Anthony and Rose on the same episode. I love them, and it's also nice seeing people get closer to my age once in a while. Not that I don't love the rest of the cast.
I believe we've just been called old, folks.
Look, I'm thousands and thousands of years old, okay?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and Troy's closing in on the Earth's age. So
getting there.
yeah, no, absolutely. No problem. We love you too. And yeah, that was kind of the whole point in bringing on different age groups, genders, ethnicities, was to increase the number of opinions. So thanks for noticing. And we love Anthony and Aspen as well. Go ahead, Troy.
Where am I? Tori. I'm going to give a rare A-Bomb to Nadeo and Trackmania.
Oh, this has got to be hurting Tori. Tori loves Trackmania.
Decided to update Trackmania to remove some tricks that made driving on ice faster but more difficult. Community found ways to still do the tricks within a day of the release of the update. That update had been announced months ago and was a big deal. It made almost all author medals on competitive ice tracks impossible, and it didn't even fix the problem.
Oof. Old Glory in chat saying DeBomb to New World update. Sadly, it was like 35 gigs. Raggerty chiming in. A-Bomb to Blizz, Diablo Immortal. Oh, you don't have phones for. Overwatch 2, you don't have a contract phone? LOL, here's my answer for both. Nope. If I had a phone, it'd be prepaid because my credit is non-existent. Yeah, they're having some fun with that one, and that's not going to get any better, particularly now that Call of Duty and other Activision games are going to try and do that too, which really doesn't make sense to me because what if you just buy Call of Duty to play the campaign? Do I still have to put a phone number on the account? It's not quite clear yet how all that's going to work, who will be required and who won't be, but I paid $60 for this game, bro. And we're not trying to date. Why do I got to give you a phone number?
Blizzard now thinks it's Facebook.
Yeah. Takal saying DeBomb to not having to do a thing to complain about for a change. Nice. Go ahead, Q.
Kevin Sharp, DeBomb to the missus for buying me a Switch to take along on long Army Reserve weekends. Easier to take on the road than my Xbox or PlayStation. A-Bomb to Fractured Online after seeing Troy's look and several others. An open world sandbox MMORPG with zero questline storyline pass. Yeah, so Troy, help me out with this, being more of the sandboxy guy than I am. Isn't that kind of the point for a true sandbox game? No narrative or quest-driven direction. Let the players create the content.
Yeah, the problem was that there's no content, and we talk about this all the time, but you have to plant little seeds, little things for the people to sandbox do, and there's just nothing like that. All there is to do is go out and gather and make yourself some gear and maybe play the economy a little bit, but that's the extent of the sandbox that's even in the game. And you need at least a little bit of breadcrumbs to get you out there into the world, and there's none of that whatsoever. It just pretty much, it doesn't explain hardly anything to you. It just kind of throws you out there. The tutorial is pretty lacking. The things to do, it's just not a lot out there. It's not very deep, as we talked about with some of New World sandbox elements, but unlike New World, it doesn't really have a lot else going on to get into.
Well, it is early access.
Yeah, as we take your money
that you have to pay to get into. I don't know. We're gonna keep an eye on it. I know Troy, hasn't quite shut the door on it yet, based on the first look and it being quote unquote early access. But you do start opening yourself up to heavy criticism when you start asking for that paycheck.
It was just boring.
Question of the week last week was what's ever caused you to leave an MMORPG that you loved? And Nasagra says, question of the week. Honestly, I feel like I'm getting pushed out of MMORPGs in general because of the overachievement design. Basically, as live games get older, they start catering harder and harder to achievers at the expense of what made the game fun for every other kind of player. The thing is, I can't really blame the devs for doing this, as if achievers aren't overly catered to, they will so loudly hammer a game's reputation that they'll drive potential new players away from the game, even if the thing achievers don't like would make the game more fun for other kinds of players. Some examples: the mastery system in Guild Wars 2 changing core progression from an open-ended RPG experience where you could chart your own path through the world to one where you have to do a list of chores in an achievement panel. Old school RuneScape locking rewards behind achievements that should be rewards for leveling a skill. So many MMOs focusing on endgame content, especially raids, while neglecting making anything else in their game fun. So heavily stacking the rewards in content like raids that nothing else in the game is worth doing economically, even systems that are supposed to be core features like gathering or crafting. Basically, at this point, it's the players I have a problem with. So even if a new game comes out that I really enjoy, it's only a matter of time before they're forced to ruin it to keep the game alive. Very, very, very interesting points there. Go ahead, Q.
Renshad. Question of the week, Swotor. I love the story for each of the characters in the companion system. The in-game, well, there's no in-game initially, so I bit the game for a while after getting my fill of a few character storylines.
That's somebody on the other side of thing, wanting some endgame. Go ahead, Troy.
Pie Maker question of the week. I've left a few games that had rewards locked behind multiplayer content that I would have had to play outside my region and time zone to find parties for. Oh, then that's the end of it. Okay. I see.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
See, okay, yeah, that's all good. There were, for those wondering, there were two paragraphs matched together, and I wasn't sure where the.
I mean, you don't need to call me out like that, but shit, damn.
You know what, though? The way he just paused there for a minute trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, I was like, why?
Very awkward.
Something.
I was like scrolled down a little further because I'm prepping for what's coming next. And when he stopped talking, I was like, did he have a stroke? Like, I know that comment. I saw it was longer.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was like, wait, did his Discord just disconnect?
Yeah, because I totally didn't read that like the end of the sentence that it is.
Well, there's also no period there. So that
Tori says the thing that made me leave Perfect World International for good was an update that removed a glitch, ? That made it possible to level to almost max in a week. The next best option for grinding took me almost 3 months to get to level 70 out of 105. And since the later levels take so much longer to grind, that's where I gave up. This was after they introduced the rebirth system, which made it possible, aka mandatory, for high-level characters to revert to level 1 with some stat boosts 2 times, meaning you needed to go to max level 2 more times in order to be competitive in PvP. Yeah, that feels like a kick in the groin. That would be awful. Go ahead, Q.
Shirak. First game I never was able to fall in love with despite trying was WoW, Wrath of the Lich King as a Tauren Hunter. I tried for a few weeks with friend's account, but I wasn't able to stick with it due to changes happening every week. Changing mana to focus, replacing or removing talents, nerf various pets caused me to be unable to absorb into the RPG aspect that I played for. While I played other races and classes and enjoyed them, none ever pulled me back into the world the way my first character did.
Yeah, there's something about you can't go back home, right, Troy? Go ahead.
We can keep trying. Kitsarua, honestly, by the time I left any MMO, I was just flat out bored to death of the daily grind. It went far beyond losing the rose-colored glasses, and by then, any friends had already dipped out anyway. I'm a bit confused, it seems. I have everyone unlocked in Overwatch 2, but Kiriko and Torb? Why not the characters I never played at all? I'm still hoping Microshaft can fix this company because it's so far gone, it's beyond being stupid.
I feel people like hoping for that, but I got to remind you, Microsoft has its own issues, okay? They may be different, and some are the same. There have been accusations of similar stuff at Microsoft in the past. I don't know. Fingers crossed. Kevin Sharp says, question of the week, not what made me leave my favorite MMO, but who? Man, just directly calling somebody out here. John Smedley Sony Online Entertainment. I was a huge Star Wars Galaxies player. Loved that game to pieces. Pre-ordered it. My main was Droid Engineer, Merc Pistolier. My alt was a Cantina musician. The customized skill tree, build your own class in Star Wars universe was amazing. Then they decided a combat upgrade was needed, bad choices, and degraded play experience. Then the NGE came out, and I was out. Canceled sub and uninstalled a month after NGE. Broke my heart. Before NGE, even with the guides to show you how to get force sensitive, you still had to learn it. But NGE became a universe of pajama party lightsaber wielders. Destroyed the game. Thanks, Smedley. No one wanted that. And see, anytime you ask about leaving an MMO, somebody is going to bring up Galaxies. 100%.
Yep. Somebody's going to say NGE. Yep.
I knew it was coming. And I'm not disappointed that it did, because I feel the same way. Question of the week this week. What MMORPG has the best trailer or cinematics of all time? And if it has multiple trailers and cinematics, give me which one. And why? Do you really like the Wrath of the Lich King launch trailer? Is that the be-all, end-all, greatest MMORPG cinematic or trailer of all time? Or do you have something else? Let us know in the comments below. And I may even bring some of them for the B-roll so that we can relive some classics if I like some of them. Make sure you give us your weekly bombs and your question of the week answers. These two segments of the show don't happen without you. And that's the most important. While you're down there, click like, subscribe. Of course, join us next week live, Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/MMOBomb for next week's show. Until then, Troy, where can everybody find you?
Hey, follow me on Twitter at NoobFridge.
Cute.
On Twitter at Quitland.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there at MagicMan1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you and you'll know every time we post a video, first look video, podcast, giveaway, interview, news piece, or so much more. Until next week, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.